Hi there, and welcome to Charter Ed Talk. I'm Janet Johnson with Charter School Capital, and we are delighted today to have Ricardo Morales, who is the founder and executive director of Academia Avance here, to speak with us, along with Marcy Fee, who is our director of client services. And we are very grateful to have you come and talk about a very important topic today.
Thanks for this opportunity.
You bet, you bet. Marcy, take it away.
Thanks, Ricardo. Would you give us an overview of the debate regarding the collaboration between school staff and immigration policy enforcement?
Yes. Obviously, right now it's a lot of attention on it, but it's important to know that this is not new. Okay, that the attempt to use public service employees to try to enforce federal immigration laws goes way back. And in fact, the current attempts are building on something that was successful. Right? So some historians estimate that as many as 5 million Mexicans left the United States in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. Not because they were deported, but because they got scared and left from other efforts. And so getting other people involved to try to push people out is not a new thing. And if we think back to the Plyler decision that comes out of Texas, constitutional decision, and it was found that public education is a right for everybody, irregardless of immigration status. That is a constitutional obligation. And so schools need to do that. And that they keep trying to get around this was what Prop 187 in California was, what the attempts in Arizona and Alabama and now in Texas. And they keep trying to come back to an issue that has already been established. And so what I try to convey to school leaders is this isn't about trying to change a law to make things better. It is the law. And we need to do it to keep things and to protect families. And that these attempts now are attempts to reinterpret law. And in fact, that's kind of what's happening right now, is reinterpreting the rules. And now it seems it's okay to take kids away from families. That was never okay. And so let's not allow it. We didn't allow it in the past, let's not allow it now.
How does this impact charter schools specifically?
Well, we have an opportunity, our school, small school, and the independence, the autonomy that we have. Now, it's an autonomy for how you operate the school, it's an autonomy for how you design the curriculum, but I think it's also an autonomy for how we can interact with our families. And we have to use this. Now, the traditional schools are also trying very hard on this very issue. And we were very happy to Avance, together with other schools, put together a collaborative called CASAS, which is California Schools Are Sanctuaries. And we adopted the ACLU Sanctuary Toolkit and early on, and not as a resolution, but as a specific set of operating policies and procedures. That then was, we advocated with schools in California, and El Unified, which has always been a champion for immigrants and all families, they adopted this statement as well. Then we kept pushing it, and now it became law. So the new AB 699 law, California law, which specifically outlines the provisions that schools must follow in terms of protecting immigrants and their families, like all the other protected classes. So what is it that charter schools can do is use your autonomy to be able to move quickly to address these issues. Right? And I would add that what is the fundamental core, in my opinion, for public education? It's the trust that, for any education, that the trust that parents have. They're taking their most treasured thing, their kids, and take them to your school. So obviously it's based on trust. It can't be a passive trust. You have to do something with that. It's our responsibility as school leaders to do something with that trust. And in this context, with immigrant families, it's not this kind of hands-off approach that was essentially what most schools were doing. And we all kind of felt, well, we're going to be fine. The new president's going to fix everything and we're going to be okay. Right? We're not okay. And so the tactic can't be a more benign along the sides. It has to be very active, I think very proactive, and work with families. Are you ready? Have you had the hard conversation with your kids? The epiphany that I had when Romulo Abelica, our parent, was detained by ICE in February 2017 was, what could we have done before? If we already know, as a college prep school, who's going to be, what people's immigration status is as part of their financial aid preparations, it's going to come out. We're going to know senior year. Then why are we waiting until senior year? Why can't we work with these families? Maybe not with second graders or third graders, but eighth graders, ninth graders. Let's get these kids involved. Let's find these solutions and get people prepared way earlier, not when at the last minute when it's too late. And I believe schools need to do that. And the way to do that is to use the trust that you have to work with families. Because they won't tell you anything if they don't trust you.
It's almost like a different kind of security, prevention, protection, isn't it?
Yes, and that word is used in so many different contexts, right? Because this is a context about security, and I know you don't mean it that way, but also the first thing that people were responding to with this crisis is the physical security of the campus and how do we keep ICE away from campus. Well, as it turns out, the Plyler decision already does that for you, right? And the Department of Homeland Security already has a policy that specifically states that they're not going to take action, for the most part, on schools. That's already there. That's already policy and law. So there's a lot of concern about, well, what do we do if ICE shows up? They're not supposed to show up. Now, if they do show up, well, you got other issues that we're going to have to deal with. And these AB 699 procedures are going to help you with that. But this is a security about emotional security.
Right.
This is a security about, which we need so that kids can stay focused on learning.
Right.
We had this huge incident right after our situation in February 2017 of all these kids saying, I need to use the phone. Come into the office, I need to use the phone. And we felt like, hey, And then it dawned, is my mom still home? Oh. It's gotten better in one particular way, many ways, but let me focus on one. Especially with this family. My favorite headline was on September 2nd, right after he got released. And it said that he's from a taquero to activist. Right? And so this was a gentleman who was put in such the most difficult situation to be away from his family. And he comes out like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to advocate for all those other guys that are still in there. And quite strongly. And he was a big push for SB 54 and for the Senate, the California Senate, to push more protections. He's the first one now at the school. When we need something, I'll make the tacos. And so he's super activated to make change, and now all his kids as well. So it's gotten better for him, it's gotten better for his family, for his kids, it's gotten better for our school to realize, wait a second, we can beat this. Right? Now, that struggle translates in the sense of, now you have a Parkland situation. Boom, our kids were out there. They did a walkout, and we took kids to the march in DC. The march in LA, one of our students was a speaker to come out on this issue. So in Spanish, no hay mal que por bien no viene, right? So every cloud has a silver lining, that something happens and it triggers, it could trigger and it should trigger a bigger response. And we're seeing that happen.
Good.
I've viewed charter schools, in my experience, and those I've been fortunate enough to get to know and visit, but that they are not just a community, but that they strengthen communities. And everything you just said reinforces that for me.
I would present early on, I would say that we're a three-legged stool. Right? The students, the parents, and the school, the teachers. It's three, not a four-legged stool. It's a three-legged stool. And what happens is if one gets wobbly, and it forces the other two to immediately reinforce. We got to hang together, or else the stool's going to fall over. Right? And so it's much more immediate, the need to everybody be together in a charter school.
Yes.
What a great way to sum it up. Seriously.
Yes.
I want to thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom with us in this day and age.
Thank you, guys.
Both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.